A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism one letter at a time.
That's nice. I like that. You going with the, is that magenta? That's like a
purple. It's like bluish purple.
Does it flicker in and out, or can you like make it?
I mean, I can make it strobe and everything, but it's just not really. And as far as it being an audio medium,
yeah, you probably can't see the lights if you're listening to this right now. That makes sense.
No. Mm-hmm.
But
it looks good though. I got a little Wang. You ever watch that guy Wang on YouTube?
Little
Justin
Wang?
No, Justin Wang.
Mm-mm.
Justin Wang's dope, dude. Yeah,
what does he
check
do?
him out. WHANG. He's an internet kind of archivist. He talks about all these different things happening on the internet, and he talks about like the origin of like Tub Girl, gross things. You know what I mean? One guy, one jar. He talks about things that are just, but not just gross stuff. It's all kind of internet. Him and an internet historian's really good too. I recommend those two on
all
YouTube.
The Charlie the Unicorn and Homestar Runner and
internet historian's funny as hell. He's like an Australian dude who just they're just documentaries about like the internet zeitgeist and what's happening, what has happened on the internet, and
what's
happening. Did a whole thing
now?
About I don't know. People are chuggy. Am I recording?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, no. People are chuggy. Yes.
People are chuggy, dude. Yeah.
What you were gonna say something? He's doing a piece on what?
He did a piece on the Fire Festival and on DashCon, the My Little Pony fucking convention, and how garbage it was, and like it was just it's pretty damn good. He did a whole piece on when Shia LaBeouf put up that flag that said like you will not. I don't know, some flag Shia LaBeouf put up, and then the internet figured out where it was, and they kept taking it down, and he put it out in some field in the middle of nowhere, and of course the fucking ding dongs at 4chan found it, and by tracking fucking flight patterns over it and shit, and just all this work to just troll Shia LaBeouf when like actual things are happening in the world that we could actually fix.
Yeah,
Bam.
Man. Yeah, it's the things that we can actually fix, and I think that I think about that a lot. I think we talked about that last week when I was dealing with the fucking plastic in my life and whatnot. And I mean, there's very little that I have control over, Jerry.
None of it.
Okay, even less. Very little. You have control over none of it.
Mostly none of it.
Mostly. But I've been a little overwhelmed lately, and I know we're gonna talk about what we're gonna talk about, but there's been working, and then I told you I'm taking this writer's workshop, which is really cool, but like I got to go through people's shit, and then I have to like critique it, and I have to be like, you can't just go like, this is trash, or what were you thinking, or because somebody else has got my stuff too, so they could but it's kind of, it takes a lot of work to sit there. Like I spent this morning going through this piece and like trying to fully understand it, and there's part of me that's like, what the fuck is this person trying to say? And then be kind with it. I don't know. It's been a very long week.
Exercise. Yeah. I admire that you can do that, because you sent me an article and I had to walk my way through it. So like I was interested the first two paragraphs, and then was just like,
well, there was a little click an audio version you could listen to.
Did not know that.
Oh.
So today is why for You Oughta Show. It's a deep dive into Alanis Morissette's
You Oughta Know, You Oughta Show.
You Oughta Show. It's called the You Oughta Show. We're making a switch over in format from recovery to just the collected works of Alanis Morissette.
Was it about Flea? Who was it about? That song.
They said it was about Ryan Seacrest.
No.
I'm not playing. They said it was about Ryan Seacrest. Everybody thought it was Dave Coulier. It turns out she was doing sex shit with Ryan Seacrest, which is more palatable to me, I think. But also her head is shaped like a peanut. But she has a great song about recovery and alcoholism. I can't remember the name of it, but But no, we're not going to be talking about that. I don't think.
Is she in the program?
I think
I mean,
everybody is at this point. I mean, I don't
everybody
know.
is.
It's somebody the other day. Oh, Mary Tyler Moore. Because I was like, my mom and dad and I were talking about Dick.
Van Dyke.
Yeah, and my mom's like, Mary Tyler Moore is in the program too. I'm like, no way. She's like, yeah. There's a couple people who surprised me. I can't remember who they were now, though. There was somebody else who I was like, oh, one of the guys in the podcast I listen to is a recovery guy, and he like rarely talks about it. And when he does, I always get excited because I'm like, yeah, you're one of us. The dude from the Daily Zeitgeist, that Jack O'Brien guy, is. I've surmised so far that he's a recovering alcoholic. He's a good guy.
No, I mean, there's a lot more of them out there than I ever imagined.
According to this article. Let's crack open the Atlantic. I have some
you got some takes. Issues?
No, okay. Not issues, hot takes.
Okay,
maybe
so
issues, I don't know.
I was, you ought to know, you ought to show why
what was why for
yo
anyway?
Ho Ho and a bottle of rum.
Is that what it was?
Sure. I wanted to talk about this article. I mean, I think I read a book a long time ago called Rum: The History of the New World in 10 Cocktails, and it talks about how rum fueled America in a lot of ways. But there's this article in the Atlantic that just came out, I don't know, a couple days ago, called "America Has a Drinking Problem," and I don't think anyone doubts that. The article talks about our time over the pandemic. It talks about, well, I mean, I guess let's just start from the beginning, where the history of alcohol and where it comes from,
right?
And how we've found it as human beings.
Someone had a word count and they needed to pad that shit. They should have just called this article "Water is Wet," because of course America has a fucking drinking problem. Why even write? It's like, today the sky is blue. Yeah, right. Yeah, but there was some interesting stuff in it, I guess. We go into a lot of statistics and stuff. She goes into the history of alcohol, which I felt like was padding,
especially in America, and how just there was excessive drinking. At one point, people were going through families were going through a barrel of cider a week.
They were saying that their excessive drinking in American culture was 9 gallons of booze a year. Right after Prohibition. But then again, while reading this article, I realized this is a non-alcoholic writing an article.
Yes.
About people binge drinking in American culture, which is just, and then comparing it to the European cultures and saying, well, they don't typically binge drink in Italy. And I bet you there's a big group of Italians that would disagree with that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know. Yes. My dad loves the Atlantic, and I'm like, I don't like the Atlantic. And he's like, why? And I'm like, because they always find a way to blame millennials every single time.
You think that
this
was
article
in here?
Blame millennials? Yeah, absolutely. It was basically saying that the millennials were not heavy drinkers when they were teenagers, but now that they're in their mid 30s to early 40s, they're all like a majority of them, not a majority, but a huge swath of them drink and contribute to the amount of drinking in this culture. But I was like, well, yeah, dude, if you're in your mid 30s and you don't own anything when your parents did, and you got the fucking shit end of the stick like they did, you'd probably drink too. A lot.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So the drinking is justified, though. Right? The excessive drinking is justified from the external, the externalities, right? The world that we live in.
I wouldn't say it would be justified as much as it's just there's a reason why.
Understood. It's understood.
That's understood. Yeah, because justify would be like, you're allowed to drink that much, which if you want to, you can. It just doesn't. It never ends well. It never ends well.
Right. So
even
one
of
the things it talks about is long time ago. We're talking centuries ago, and how there was a ancient man. There was this place, they found some cave paintings, and it was basically, no one lived there, but it was just a place to go. It was like the very first bar ever built in a cave.
Pretty much.
It was just where fermented fruits were made or allowed to ferment, and then people got drunk and partied there. And the idea that from alcohol, human beings have developed an ability to be creative, to work together, to tolerate strangers.
Yeah.
In a way that allows them to be to work together in larger groups. And so these are things that are considered pros of alcohol. Like these are the things that have positively affected human behavior over the centuries to help us develop connections where
Mm-hmm.
we would not otherwise find them.
Right.
And that came to the American shores in the 1600s.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, it goes back further. I mean, they talk about gin in Genevieve, is what it was called in Holland, and then the English came and took it, and they made gin, and it fucking ruined everything.
That's what I was about to say, is that the article starts by stating that people were drinking beer. They were treating it like food. They're using it as a staple with beer because beer had calories. So they had a caloric intake when we were forming societies and stuff. And then before that, as cavemen, or as this not cavemen, but you know what I mean? This primitive, whatever we were, that we had developed some mutation in our genes where we didn't metabolize the alcohol as fast as other animals did, so it'd kind of stick around, or we metabolized it faster somehow, but we had like genetically had come up with a way to tolerate alcohol and make it work for us so we could imbibe the calories and then become intoxicated from it. That was the side effect of the calories. And over time, this article states the genetic mutation didn't breed out of us. It didn't, like, do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't one of these things that genetics decided we don't need that anymore. People who have that mutation die, so they don't get to make more kids or whatever. Then it turned into society, and then people are like, well, we need to eat, and we can drink beer because it has all these calories in it, and it lubricates us socially. Yeah, it feels good. It feels different, and we can all have Stonehenge where we'll have a fucking rave and eat mushrooms and bang and whatever. And yeah, and then of course industrialized, we hit the Industrial Revolution. Before that, we end up in the United States or coming into what the United States, the New World, and those motherfuckers drank. And then liquor showed up and was like,
That's the thing, right? All this old stuff, all of the old fermented fruit, all of even the beer and the ale, these were all things that were in the 3 and 4%, right? We're talking like Budweiser levels of alcohol,
right? Which isn't liquor. It's not booze.
No, it is not. It is
Budweiser is barely alcohol as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Now, which is not to say somebody who doesn't crush 30 cans a night is not.
They would disagree with me. Yes,
right,
of course.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. This is coming from a whiskey drinking alcoholic who's like, you've heard me say it. I'm like, beer's not drinking. That's a road soda. That just makes you fart.
I knew a bartender once who was drinking a beer, and I was surprised to see him drinking a beer because he always had a cocktail. And I was like, really? You're drinking a beer? And he's like, yeah, the beer's what I have when I'm deciding what to drink next. And it's like,
you bartenders.
So this idea that it was the Industrial Revolution which exacerbated it because of the advent of liquor, and now things are 40 and 50%, and our bodies, we have evolved our so many things so quickly that we are unable to keep up with them evolutionarily as human beings, right? Technology, like, it goes beyond us, right? Liquor, we're just not, we're not capable of processing that much alcohol at once, and it's a big problem. I mean, nobody's going to, I don't think anyone would argue today that alcohol is bad for you.
No,
I don't think so. I mean,
no, I don't think so.
There's conversations about maybe a little bit of wine might be good, and blah blah blah, and you can have this and you can have that, and all I keep hearing is excuses to drink, right? And there's parts in the article where they're discussing this idea of what's good and what's not, and I just keep hearing excuses. And maybe that's fine for a normal person, but I don't think a normal person thinks about alcohol this much.
They don't, but I believe what this article is, the main concern in this article is that normal people are starting to approach alcohol like alcoholics. Do you know what I mean? Like the whole wine mom culture, and that they have little flasks you can hide and put in your jewelry or whatever. Like, so I think that's what not the hysteria is the wrong word, but I think that's the main concern of the article is America drinking like alcoholics now, you know, and then you factor in the pandemic on top of the stresses of life, this capitalism run wild, people with their genetic predisposition, their emotional predisposition. I mean, it's so far, there's so many factors in it that I can't even, I read the article, like I said, slept walk through near the end of it, because I was like, what's the tone here? Like, are you saying alcohol bad or alcohol good? Because there's 5 paragraphs saying alcohol good for socializing and all this stuff, but then culture bad because people are on their phones in bars and no longer speak to each other. But alcohol good because it, you know what I mean? So this person who wrote it is giving you both sides of it constantly, and but I think the overall tone is like normal people are drinking like drugs, and I'm like, no, I think they've always drank like drugs.
Isolation in the pandemic, isolation in the quarantine exacerbated some of that.
That's the heavy hitter for this, is that they're saying drinking alone is this big factor that is really concerning. But then in the next paragraph, they talk about finding that sweet spot, how there was that one coder and they had like a name
an
for
IV.
him. Yeah, trying to find that sweet spot in being drunk, that they could remain flexible and, you know what I mean, drop their inhibitions enough that they could code without any insecurity and be able to open up and reach these new artistic parts of your creativity or whatever. And I don't know, man. I mean, like I said, it's a weird article because it's for normies. It's for people who don't fucking do the shit we do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And the IV drip with the coder, the story in there about trying to maintain the perfect level of alcohol in the bloodstream.
I got fucking jealous. I gotta be honest. I got a little jealous. I'm not gonna lie. I even thought, man, why didn't I think of that shit? Because we would have died. We would have just killed each other.
Because this is not fucking limitless. You know, this is not like I'm gonna expand my mind with a White Claw drip into my bloodstream.
Right.
And I mean, this is not a real example, but Mr. Leahy on Trailer Park Boys used to have that breathalyzer, right? There was that whole storyline of like, if I can just maintain this. But as we know, and what is not described in that article is that coder is going to develop a tolerance. And then the percentage of alcohol required to maintain the same feeling and level of confidence and security and inspiration and motivation is going to require more and more alcohol to keep that up.
Simple goddamn math. We live with it in the other parts of our life. How many cups of coffee you got to drink now to even feel coffee anymore? Do you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying, though. Like, I started off with normal coffee, then I went to cold brew because it was stronger and it gave me that kick. I'm drinking fucking Bang energy drinks in the morning now instead of coffee.
You didn't used to drink coffee.
No. And then I got sober and was like, well, I need to feel something, I guess. Well, no, because when I first got sober, I was drinking like 2 rock stars, 3 rock stars a day, which are, 250 to 300 milligrams of caffeine. I was going over that 500 milligram count they were telling me. Stick with it.
Well, I think we're also really well versed in denial.
Yeah, but we build up a dependency, is what I'm saying. All humans build up a dependency. The first time you have chocolate, the 10th time you have chocolate, it's not going to be as good as the first time you have chocolate. You're not going to get that hit. So if you're in the case of this coder, which is also, I don't know if it's a real story, they're kind of saying it's this legend.
Theoretical,
I mean, honestly, theoretical,
Valley,
it just, you don't factor in the fact that tolerance is there. Just it happens to every human being, alcoholic, non-alcoholic, addict, drug addict. I was talking to my dad about it. And my dad's like, he's like, nah, man, this country binge drinks, but the biggest problem in this country is drugs. Like, they shouldn't even be writing an alcohol article. They should be writing an article about OxyContin, because more people are fucked up on oxys than they are drinking, And I was like, good point, because, and it's also, I think this article annoyed me, which is sad because this person probably put their heart in it and wanted the paycheck too. But like, there's binge drinking in Mexico. The Mexican culture is vastly huge in its binge drinking culture.
Is it?
Oh, absolutely, dude. I'm from a Mexican American culture, and they are weirded out if you don't drink with them. Like the culture I grew up in. You know what I mean?
Have you noticed any of that with like family members down there or not yet?
Because they all know my dad. Do you know what I'm saying?
So
they know my
they've already...
dad, and they all know my mom. You know, my parents are fucking recovering alkies, so they're like, yeah, he got the bug too. You know?
Got it.
Yeah. So no, I don't notice it much. We went out to lunch the other day. We went into a restaurant the other day, which was crazy. It was this place called The Parish, and it was a New Orleans style restaurant. It was really good, actually. It reminded me of something out of Portland. It was punk rock New Orleans cuisine. There's a couple sitting next to us, two boomers. And the guy was telling a story about a Southern Baptist dad who was a Southern Baptist preacher to this woman. And he was telling this woman a story about his dad meeting a man who didn't drink, who was sober. And when the man left, the guy said, yeah, my Southern Baptist dad leaned forward to me and said, never trust a man that doesn't drink. You know, and then they both laughed their asses off while they're having their mid-afternoon cocktail. And I'm looking at the bar, and the bar is like all boomers just lined up having their mid-afternoon fucking rum drinks, you know, and the whole back of the bar is just lined with mason jars full of infusions, you know, strawberries and rhubarb and all that. That's the big thing is
strawberry season.
It's funny to me, but it's just, it's part of our culture, as part of anybody's culture, because in my opinion, the ultimate condition of being a human being is that it sucks and it's hard and it hurts and you're unfucking happy. And not all the time, but there are long moments of that.
That is a part of the human condition.
It is, absolutely. And so in order to not feel those things, you have to get intoxicated, or at least you feel like you have to. So I think it's part of every culture. I just think the Atlantic and the people who write for it want to put a little microscope on America and go, what's up with these wine moms, though?
Well, what's up with the wine moms?
They drunk fucking moms. Yeah. Like what? Like you've never had a friend who didn't have a drunk mom? I had a drunk mom. She wasn't a wine mom. She drank wine, but she wasn't like, it wasn't a cute shirt that said like, I may be fucking wasted. She was just wasted.
I think that's the bigger problem. And
that's all rooted in capitalism.
So, and that again is so we've said this before. I've said this before. You've said this before. Alcohol is just an inert substance.
Yep.
And it doesn't do anything to me. It can sit on the shelf in my kitchen for the rest of my life. As long as I don't put it in me, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's what's more concerning is the marketing and the pushing. And they talk about this in the article about how much money in the late 90s and early 2000s, the companies put toward marketing to people that drinking is fun and drinking is not only socially acceptable, but socially required. And you don't trust a person who doesn't drink. Well, I want to be trusted. I want to be a part of the group. I want to be liked. I want to be loved. And so if I drink, I will get to be all of those things because the TV told me. Or, you know, it's
they make money. I mean, how many of these wine mom blogs you think are funded by like Mondavi or some wine company or that throw them a little check? Hey, you should promote our thing here and we'll throw you a little check there. And so then they're like, oh, this wine mom thing, the live, laugh, love. You know, the live, laugh, moe or whatever. I don't know what fucking moms drink. You know, and it's not even just the wine mom. It's like the whole White Claw thing, the whole seltzer thing. They're like, oh, this is just like a soda and it's healthy for you because it's club soda. It's just club soda. It's like a LaCroix. It's club soda, except it has like
a few less calories than beer.
A few less calories, and you know what, baby? It's just got a little malt liquor in it. That's all. It's just a little malt liquor. Do you know what I'm saying? Like all that White Claw, that Truly, all that shit is just malt liquor.
It's really,
but they tell you it's
kind
skinny,
of fucking evil.
It's light. It's all evil. But I mean, once again, it all, and I don't mean to turn this into a socioeconomic or a political podcast, but it's fucking capitalism, bro. If you made no money off of booze, then they wouldn't push booze. They wouldn't push the culture. You push the culture, you push the money. Do you know what I'm saying? Even to the extent that like you and I wouldn't say we became alcoholics because culturally we looked at what was going on and went, that's cool. That's the sole reason why I'm a drunk. But that was a factor in it. You know, genetic predisposition. My daughter asked me yesterday what makes an alcoholic, because we started talking about it. You know, my 11-year-old daughter. Yeah. So she's like, so what made you an alcoholic? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like the amount I drank or what? And she's like, no, what makes like you and Noni and Papa alcoholics? And I was like, well, I think it's this, you know, it's this genetic disposition I have mixed with this social aspect of my personality. And there's a lot of layers to it, right? But
yeah,
I don't know, man. You make a shitload of money selling dumb t-shirts written in scriggly handwriting that says, I may be drunk or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like,
maybe it's not coffee in my coffee mug or whatever.
right.
Yeah.
But, or you make a shitload of money buying, I bought a Patty's Pub shirt from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. You know what I mean? Like, I still think bar t-shirts are cool. I do. There's some bar t-shirts I see that I'm like, that's a fucking badass t-shirt. Like, that has a cool design on it.
And that's design work more than it is the culture of drinking.
Yeah, for me, it's more the design work. But like, I'd wear a bar shirt now, even though I'm sober, because I'm like, hey, they got a good panini.
They got a good
kielbasa panini. You know,
I'm just kind of torn because I've always been, you know, not only I still kind of find some of the aspects of like bartending and stuff like that. Somebody will send me a video or I'll see something. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so some of it is, but the more that I look at it, the more I kind of cringe at it and go, this is not for the good. I mean, I guess if you're completely, and there's just no way of, you know, there's no way to regulate whether or not somebody's an alcoholic or a normie and be like, oh, well, no, you're a normie. I can make you this fancy cocktail.
Right.
Oh, no, you're an alcoholic, you know, so
you're not allowed. Yeah. Exactly.
You're not allowed. Right. Cause that doesn't work. That doesn't exist. But I'm just more and more, I look at it. I'm like, this is not the best use of anybody's time or money.
No, not really, but
not really. And I mean, far be it for me to tell people what they can and cannot do, because as we said at the top of the hour, I don't have control over anything, but
nothing. We can observe though, and we can sit here in our little podcast and talk to each other about it, talk shit about it. But no, you're right. And it really is, there is an artistry to making something horrible palatable and even delicious. And that's what impresses me, is when I see a bartender. But you know me, I was very, even as an active alcoholic, I was very easy to please. You wanted me to taste the high notes in a glass of Armagnac or whatever it was, and all I wanted was a blowjob shot. You know what I mean? Exactly. I just wanted something with Frangelica and Curacao or something that was sweet, that had whipped cream on it or whatever it was, you know? So we all approach it differently. And maybe you, in your active alcoholism, you did taste the top notes in the cognac or that whiskey, or that maybe you had a Sazerac and you're like, these bitters are perfect, or whatever it was. Right. Where I was just like, but I don't want to make this comparison because our motivation was exactly the same. Was, I'm not going to get fucked up though.
Yes.
You know, like, this tastes great. But what if they gave this to me without booze? Would that be worth it? Nah. There were
two motivations. There was this sort of top, this tastes good, or I want it to be something fun or interesting. And then there's always the bottom motivation, which is let's get fucked up.
And that's the base.
That's the social aspect of it, of wanting to be together. And because I was totally duped by a lot of the culture of it, and that it was cool.
Me too.
I read books by people. I read How Much Bukowski and Hunter S. Thompson and fucking Jack Kerouac. And, you know, I don't think these guys were in any way, shape, or form actively trying to market alcohol. This was just the life that they led.
Well, and it was different back then too.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think that Ernest Gallo went to Bukowski and said, hey, we'll pop you a check next time you write another Ham on Rye.
But not today like they
now,
would.
On Instagram. Yeah. They're like, hey, wear this fucking Corona shirt while you're roller skating in your underwear or whatever on Instagram. We'll fucking pop you a little check for it, you know? Yeah, everything can be marketed and sold. It's the culture we live in now. The internet fucked everything up, but it's also awesome. But yeah, you're right. But we both bought into that. I still like the Bukowski stuff. There's some of it that's really beautiful, but I understand wanting to shed yourself of that and being like, these things helped lead, I felt influenced by these things that lead me to poison. It wasn't the fault of this thing, but it was me mixed. It's just like liquor. Me mixed with this thing leads me to a poisonous life, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I see it. I don't know, man.
I'm just seeing it more and more, and the more that I see of how it's pushed, the more I, I mean, again, the only thing I can say is like, maybe not, maybe don't,
Well,
maybe not
yeah.
so much. Maybe look a little bit further past the glitz and the glamour of the
Mm-hmm.
cocktail shell and the, all that shit.
Well,
So,
and then in the article too, they talk about alcohol's relationship with religion, with religious ceremonies. They talk about alcohol's relationship with. They talk about how the rates of cirrhosis are like huge right now because millennials, a ton of millennials are getting cirrhosis. But then I wonder about the correlation, causation, and correlation. Like,
mhm.
are there more people getting cirrhosis now because more people are drinking, because they're pushed to drink, or because the millennial generation's so fucking big that there's so many drinkers in that? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
are the
Yeah.
numbers that big because you're pulling from a bigger pool for your
Mhm.
statistics, or is there an actual problem? I think there's a problem personally. I think this culture has a really fucked up relationship with alcohol and just intoxication in general.
Yes.
Yes, our
Yes. I
relationship is
mean,
wild.
I binge drinking. So in the article, couple things. You said something about religion. There's this idea that also religion helps us trust people. At least we can see more than we can only really, what is it, like trust 150 people in one go.
You can
Like
only
there's only,
know that's that
you can only
Dunbar.
know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
called the
Number.
Dunbar crooning effect.
No, that's a different
No,
thing.
that's a
That's
different thing. But
yes.
I know what you're talking about, though.
But with things like
Sorry, I was doing some Rogan shit there where I just say things.
just start babbling shit.
Yeah,
Sounds
dude.
the same. Um, so with religion, and much like with alcohol,
Hmm.
and like you said earlier, don't trust a man who doesn't drink. Well, if I know that I can sit down and have a drink with a stranger, that I can trust them. Or that
Hmm.
if I go into a church and I believe the same things as these other people, even if they're not part of my tight-knit circle, I can trust them because of what they believe. I can trust them because they go, "Oh, Grey Goose Martini, I see."
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. Oh, cheers. And how many times have you met a stranger in a bar and started talking just randomly? I'm not
Yeah.
saying that maybe you sought it out always,
Yeah.
but it was just
No.
like you would have no problem talking to a stranger not knowing anything about them because they ordered a drink and you ordered a drink or
Right. And your
whatever.
inhibitions were low. It's called Dunbar's number. You were right. It's
Okay.
150 people you can trust and know intimately. But to your point, you it's really weird because the article um actually tells you the opposite, that people don't talk to each other in bars anymore. So now we're just drinking at home
Anymore. Yes.
anymore. But when you and I were drinking 10
Hmm.
fucking years ago, come on,
Hmm.
10 years
Yeah.
is not even a generation. Like, we would talk to strangers all the time in bars, but that was that mixture of dropping of inhibition, that shared experience, and like you said, yeah, that ability to trust this person now, at least socially, in the most
Hmm.
superficial ways, because you do have a lowering of inhibition and a shared experience. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? And then from there, you both like the fucking San Diego Superchargers or whatever. Boom, you got another layer. You like fucking bartender's got ass. Boom, another layer. Whatever it
Hmm.
is, I don't know why bartender got ass came into that, but that was a lot of my conversations because I was a gross person. But
I never had an ass.
no,
I
you
mean, I
never had
still don't.
ass. You were
I
not
was
thick. You were
flat
not a thick. You were not a thick boy.
pancake.
Yeah,
That
good
was
hair though. Yeah, good hair.
good hair.
Good hair.
But yeah, so you say no, that's Lisa Loeb. That's not
That's not. It's not
Alanis
Morissette.
Morissette.
Mm-mm.
Um there's that trust. And so that's something, and yes, you are right. People are less inclined to socialize outside. I mean, everything's fucking changed because of the last year.
Pandemic fucked everything up. But even before pandemic, apparently you'd get a group of kids sitting at a table, quote unquote millennials, which I don't think it was, more like the older Gen Zs, and they'd sit there on their
Hmm.
phones and just drink and look at their Instagram,
Right.
But they're conversating, they're talking.
I don't know. And I mean, whatever, man. Sometimes I don't want to. And honestly, as a bartender, you know, we could sit here and complain about how bars used to be social and people are just all on their phones. And mostly, you know what? They just wanted to be fucking drunk and social with me. And thank God they had their phones to keep them
Thank
entertained,
God,
because
dude.
maybe it's just me getting jaded and exhausted and tired of the fucking job. But when you're at a bar that has like 15 stools and they
Yeah.
all want to fucking piece you, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, ugh, yeah,
Just
please
have a
get
big
up.
stack of Seattle strangers. You just throw them all the stranger. Just all here.
Yeah,
Just read this shit.
just read this shit.
Here's the fucking crossword in there about butt plugs. Do that.
Leave me be. I mean, it just got to the point, and there were, you know, and it's like, God, I was just like, my job's, it was just too fucking much.
Well, yeah,
But,
you're like, I got a bar back who's asleep in the back, who's so drunk he's passed out. I don't know.
Yeah,
I got mold in the fucking beer taps. I got so much shit to do.
we've got plenty of, yeah. So
I got
it
plenty
just
of
became
side work.
and that was kind of a relief in my mind, was like, oh, people are on their phones. Thank God I don't have to talk to because I remember where men would I have lonely old men, and, you know, God forbid, I know what it's like to be a lonely old man. Like it sucks, dude. But they would just sit there and stare and wait to have some sort of conversation. And they were just like, and you're like, I could feel them trying to suck some sort of interaction out of me. And I'm just like, I don't want to talk to you, Gary.
Ain't nobody
No
got
offense
time
to
for
anybody
that,
named
Gary.
Gary, but like, I remember, and I'm just like, ugh, like I just can't, man. Like, yeah, let me pour you another glass of Tempranillo and stop fucking, you know, I'm not gonna engage with you about the cocktail waitress. Like,
We're not gonna talk
gross.
about Bill's fucking marlin fishing trip that you went
Like,
on
it's just
in the fucking Gulf of Mexico, bro. Like,
and to any
side work.
bartenders who love doing that stuff and throwing a party and like being a host, like that's awesome. That's great.
They probably make good
Hospitality.
money. Yeah.
More power to you. They do. Yes, they do. And I did. And there was a time where that was my thing.
You did do that though. You were party man at one point.
I was, and I was very good at it, and I had fun with it. But, you know, it's just
you
not.
Had regulars who are like, we're gonna go see John, not we're gonna go to the Balmar. They're like, we're gonna go see Johnny today. We're gonna day drink and see Johnny. And you'd be like, do your little Tom Cruise cocktail poem and fucking
yes,
he's a cool guy. You know, I would watch them because I'd be the lonely old man at the end of the bar who was fucking 28. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I remember that. But your tolerance goes, you sober up, and it's almost like, remember in the early podcast, we talked about the veil being lifted off our eyes. Like,
yeah,
all that gossamer you're looking through is now starting to shift, and you realize it's like almost like that movie, They Live. You know, the one with Rowdy Piper, you put on the sunglasses and he's like, you look like your face fell in the fish fryer back in 1962 or whatever dumb fucking thing he says. Yes. That's what life felt like to me. I put the glasses on and was like, this is all bullshit. Like, this whole facade is all fucking so shaky. Like, none of this is real. Right. Yeah. So maybe that's what I think that's what happened to you as well. So you were standing behind that bar with your little half apron on and you're like, fuck this bullshit. Dude. This is bullshit. You stink. Like, you smell like cirrhosis.
Yeah. I mean, just watching grown men, adults fall off bar stools and
pee themselves like babies.
Yeah. Like watching just grown adults, men and women, just being as sloppy and fucking just out of their minds. And I was like, and again, there, but for the grace of God go I.
Right.
100%.
And then this article talks about how alcoholism helps you tap into your young childlike playful side. Like, what childlike playful side is that? Falling off a bar stool and going pee in your pants?
Well, there's another excuse me. I think there is some a sliver of validity to that.
Yeah, absolutely. There is.
There's one quote, and I have yet to be able to find it, about Tom Robbins wrote it, and I think it's in either Half Asleep in Frog Pajamas or one of the other. I can't remember which book. But he talks about alcohol, and I printed this out. Like, I went to the library, I had the novel, and I photocopied the page and then printed it out on a big 8x10 and put it on my wall, because that's what we did in 1999 or whatever. And the quote was basically saying that in the first few drinks, the first couple of drinks, it was all about the inspiration that could come and how much magic was there and how creative you could be. Right. But after you slip into that 4, 5, 6 drinks, it was talking about there's like a mother bear or something like that, but how the monster of alcohol would come out and eat its young. You know, you would give birth to all these wonderful ideas and you'd give birth to all these amazing things. And then
Mm-hmm.
the last few drinks or the last 7 or 12 or 16 would come, and he had this great little passage about eating its young. And I was like, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
Because it
that's
just lays
really
waste to
profound.
it.
If we can find the exact quote, that'd
I'm
be
going to
great.
look
It's
for it. I'm
very
going to look for
profound,
it.
though. It really is apt, you know.
So I think there's a tiny sliver of that, but I also don't
Yeah.
have any control over that anymore.
That's the thing, right? That's the rub. That's why this is written for. I keep pointing at my phone
Normies.
down here, but
Yes.
this is written for people who don't drink alcoholically because,
Yeah.
those switch doesn't work for us. Our switch broken. Switch
Yeah.
broken. Yeah, no maintenance, Matt Cummings. Sorry, switch broken. Just don't use that switch anymore. That's basically
There's no
what
switch.
It is,
It's just a fork hanging out of the socket, and
Literally
I just have to not touch
and
it.
it worked a lot in the beginning, but now it don't work no more.
Mm-hmm.
So don't
Yeah.
even just
Don't
to act
touch
like
it.
it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Cope with the fact you want to keep touching it. You just always want to grab it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I have to kind of spackle over it.
Right.
And so I see the spackle. I know it's
See
there.
the outline of it.
Yes,
though, dude.
exactly. On the
there. And
wall,
you're like,
it's always
listen,
there.
if shit gets too bad, I can take a hammer to this.
I
knock
can
the
just dig it
spackle
out, and then
Yeah,
I can
dig it
fucking
out.
electrocute myself.
Because your
to
brain
death.
still tells you that, because I know, because it tells me that. I don't
Yeah.
want to speak for you. I'll say it just tells me that.
I think at
If it
this
gets
point,
bad, Jerry, you
Jerry,
can't find a house, just go out in the woods and drink. Go out in the desert and drink. Yeah.
go on. Just go live among the cactuses until you die.
Drink a
It
fifth.
won't
you'll
take
be
that
dead.
long.
Yeah, it really will. I could do it in a day.
A fifth of whiskey in 100-degree weather. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
after not drinking for 6 years, like, whoo,
mhm.
I'll be on the news.
It's true.
Yeah, just get killed by killer bees or something.
And the other thing you said previously that was also in the article was this juxtaposition of, or this, not juxtaposition, but the comparison of American binge drinking, and they used Italy. Now, what's interesting about this is I have a friend. Sorry, there's a plane that sounds really close. I have a friend from Italy. You've met him. His name is Francesco.
Yeah.
And super great guy. And he came and he stayed with us for a few months.
Oh,
like
yeah.
3 or 4 months.
Francesco.
And we used to, so he slept on the couch, and this was in the probably peak alcohol fucking drinking, 2006 or something like that.
Yeah.
Blackout every night, wake up every morning, hungover all the time, drink in the morning, go to work, drink in the afternoon. So, and he would be like, I don't understand.
I remember you telling me this.
He's like, I don't understand. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, in Italy, we go out, we have dinner, we have wine, everything that's in this article. We maybe have a drink afterwards. Hard alcohol was either before or after the meal. He said we would sit in the cafes or in the squares, and we would have our little glass of Amaro liquor, whatever it was, and you would sip it, and you would talk to your friends, and you would sip it. And we would go out every single night with this guy, and the first thing we fucking do is you get a shot and a beer, you know? And, you know, it was, and I just don't understand how you Americans drink. And this was 15 years ago.
So maybe this article is accurate in that, because in the beginning I had posited that there are probably, because there are binge drinkers in every culture, and there are cultures that
100%
is as celebrated as it is in the United States. But I imagine this person using Italy as a example may be more accurate. So maybe I will pull that one back, because I do remember Francesco having that conversation with you and being like, you guys are too fucking much. Like, yeah, they just like, and it made me
confused.
It made me think about that European way of approaching it. And there are Europeans who binge drink. They're all out there, you know, but even in Germany, I thought about the Unterberg shots that we would get at the People's Pub in Seattle, and how the Unterberg shot, you're only really supposed to take one after you eat. It's an app. What do you call it? Digestif. You eat it to digest. Yes. And we would take like 6. Like 6 of them a
line
piece.
Them up.
Yeah, like I have heartburn, I'm gonna have an Unterberg, give me 5. And you're like, you're just making the heartburn fucking worse. Like, yeah,
it's so strange. Like when you bring stuff up like that, and I remember like that was just our lives, was like going into the people's pub and like
that
sitting there with
gross shit.
the sun would hit the
Yes.
bar and you could see all the filth in the way that, you know what I mean? Like it was that perfect angle. And you're like,
the grease on all, because nobody would do the side work to wipe down the shelves. And then Coda would be like, yo, dude, I fell asleep last night down by the kegs, like downstairs, got drunk, fell asleep on the couch, fell off, and fell asleep wedged between two kegs, you know? And I'm like, that's fucking funny, dude. Really?
that's funny, right? It was just, it was
how
funny.
are you not
awesome.
fired yet? You know?
Yeah.
What was the other one that shit you got gross shit all you bartenders drink that was not meant to be?
Oh, the Fernet. Yeah.
Fernet was also a digestive that was meant to be drinking out of a little tiny crystal glass, not do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a tumbler, you know, all that shit. That fucking shit that Walter drank was not meant to be drank the way we drank it.
Chartreuse.
Chartreuse is not meant to be drank the way we drank chartreuse.
And all these are European liqueurs and aperitifs and digestives. They were just
to lubricate, warm a tiny bit, not to make you end up sitting in a folding chair in a church basement. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Or in a jail cell, or dead. You know,
right. So I think there is something. I think it's accurate that there are other cultures, that America has a culture of binge drinking, that it's seen as a you know, a rite of passage, that we talk about it as a way of showing your fortitude and strength. I mean, I still like all the bullshit. Like I still think that fucking Hunter S. Thompson and Charles Bukowski lied about that shit.
They did lie about that shit to sell books. So there was money involved.
And so I feel like there were some big fucking lies there.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
again, I don't want to discount any of the beautiful things that I have personally received, tattoos notwithstanding, from these authors. But you know, it's like it's a fucking lie. And I'm trying to not, I don't want to be judgmental, because I don't feel like that's really helpful. And that if you want to go out and enjoy a cocktail and you can, then please do. But
John, they're all fictional books. Yeah. And you didn't get mad when you found out J.R. Tolkien didn't know no hobbits, John.
Fair enough.
It's all fiction. Even Hunter S. Thompson's journalism was called gonzo journalism, because there are elements of fiction. Hunter S. Thompson, great writer, not a great fucking journalist, because he made up half that shit. You're not supposed to make shit up when you're a journalist. You're not supposed to make that shit up. And you did.
Have a good point. Yes,
so
they were good stories.
What happened was you and I were gullible and we bought into the lie. So you can't be mad at them. You got to be mad at yourself for buying into the lie. You think Kerouac really did half the shit he said he did? No, those dudes were all blasted on speed, getting fucked up and doing half the stuff they did and embellishing the rest to make it sell. You know?
Yeah.
That's my opinion on it. I never got mad at Stephen King because there was no pet cemetery in his backyard. You know, I never did. So for me to read it, I'm like, but even when I was drinking, I thought it was the way to be, because I bought into the lie. And then when I got older and kind of recovered, when I got into recovery, I was like, oh, this is bullshit. But man, I'm not mad at it, because I bought into it.
You're telling me I can't blame somebody else for my alcoholism?
No, it's your fucking fault, you ding dong.
You make a very good point. You can blame your
genetics. I mean, you can sit there and poke at your brain and be like, damn you brain, and damn you society and culture. But I mean, at the end of the day, we got to own our own shit.
And
we're not supposed to look back on the past, and we're not a glum lot.
I'm not a glum lot.
You sold all your Bukowski books. You're like, I'm done with this lying ass motherfucker. And I'm like, he's a liar. He was a liar from the beginning.
Yeah.
He showed his ass from the start. You really think he had sex with that many women? Look at him. The guy's face looks like a hard road. It looks like one of these dirt roads out here. I don't care how good your poetry is, dude.
Right. No, you make a very good point. It was really, I mean, I bought into it.
Check and made.
I bought into it.
Also, isn't it ironic, according to Alanis Morisette? Like rain on our wedding day, dude.
Like 10,000 spoons when all you need is a knife.
Bitch, use the side of the spoon to cut the fucking cheese stick. It's so hard. You just use the spoon sideways, you cut, bam, you got half a Slim Jim. You're ready to go, Alanis. Hit me up. I got
you in the
ideas.
fucking desert after a fifth of whiskey trying to cut
Dude, I like lived off those
Jim with
Slim
a spoon.
Jims, dude.
Gross.
I like loved
Yeah.
them. Yeah, I can't eat them now. Get the agita, dude.
Well, yeah, because it's nothing but salt and fucking
And grease.
and grease.
Yeah, and grease. Yeah, I feel horrible.
But I think in the article, I don't know, there's a problem in this country, and it was exacerbated by the pandemic.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot worse.
And the isolation, and the we've talked about isolation, connection, that sort of that idea of those being the opposite and alcohol being in the middle. And drinking alone is never, ever, I don't think it's ever a good idea. I mean, occasionally you might go to a bar and read a book and have a drink.
Right.
And I think, again, that could be,
but there's still the inherent social aspect. The opportunity may come up.
Yes.
What are you reading there? You know what I mean?
Right.
Someone cool might sit next to you and go, "What are you reading?" But at home, someone walks your house and they're like, "What are you reading?" You're like, "What the fuck?" Yeah. Yo, you're right. I mean, I can't think of any reason why drinking alone would be productive unless you really were trying to untangle some type of writer's knot, but then you just go and fucking throw the knot in the sea. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just renders yourself useless at some point if you're an alcoholic, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And I don't know I don't think there is an answer on as long as there's money to be made by getting people to fucking kill themselves with alcohol. And maybe that sounds dramatic. But I don't think that these companies are interested in just sharing a fun time.
No, they want you to buy their crap so they can buy more crap and then on their deathbeds be like, "Thank God I had all that crap. So now I can leave all this crap to my children." But the article is called "America Has a Drinking Problem" by Kate Julian. I'm not wrapping it up. I just want to make sure that people know that you can read it. It's on the Atlantic website. I think the first one's free. Then you have to pay for all the ones after that. The first like 4 are free. It's like the New York Times, or not the New York Times, Washington Post, right? Democracy dies in the darkness. First like 2 are free, and then after that they're like, you got to pay for these. It always annoys me because Reddit always links to this article. It looks interesting. Then I realize I read a stupid article about Donald Trump's Depends or something. I'm like, I can't read this one that's really relevant because I spent it on the gossip
You got on the clickbaity. Yeah, you got on the clickbaity shit. You
What's
got on the
Nancy
page
Pelosi have to say about fucking Marjorie Taylor Thomas Green or whatever?
Marjorie Taylor Thomas
Green or whatever. I don't. That
Jonathan Taylor Thomas, yes,
idiot
from
lady.
Home Improvement.
Yeah, the biggest Karen at Target. It's like, get the fuck out of here. But once again, we are a non-political podcast. But we are 2 political guys who are trying really hard to be
hard to not be a political podcast.
Because I don't want to alienate anybody. I want you to not drink if you don't want to drink. And if we're helping, good. If your politics are bad, maybe if you get sober enough, they'll get better. Maybe you go in recovery and be like, I was a fucking wingding.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that regardless of your politics, if you're interested in solving problems and you come across somebody who is also interested in solving these problems and maybe has a different way, the best way to understand this other person and relate to them, if you're interested in that, is to not just yell at them and tell them they're wrong.
Right.
And if the problem is alcohol, I'd be happy to listen and talk with you, regardless of your politics on any number of other inflammatory things. I've set aside about an hour today to go argue with conservatives on Facebook. So
why
that feels
are you
pretty
doing
I'm
that?
kidding. I'm kidding.
I was almost like, why have you done? You're pissing in a sea of piss. No, everybody forgets about the 4chan rule because they're all too old.
What's the 4chan rule?
You can't troll the B board and 4chan, where all this shit started was on the poll board and the B board.
Yes.
Right? Poll board, B board, and that stupid fucking Gamergate. And the rule on the B board was you cannot troll the B board because you're just pissing into a sea of piss. And that's Facebook. Facebook's just B-bowl. It's just the B page, just 4chan. It's just with boomers.
So
I don't know why you're still on it.
I don't know either. I don't know.
Dude, I do.
Because my mom's there. I don't know. She likes to
You
check
can call
in.
her. You can just call her and say, "How are you?" You can just send her pictures of your day. Look at this cool dog I found, Mom.
Right? Should I? I should just start
looking for ex-girlfriends, dude.
Mm-hmm.
They're on Instagram too.
So I want to just really quickly, for those of you who don't know what 4chan is, there's actually
Don't go there.
Don't go there. There was a great
or 8chan or 8kun or what.
Yeah,
anyway,
any of
go
that
ahead.
shit.
Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
It's really dark, fucked up, just bad stuff. But there was a great QAnon Anonymous episode where they dug deep into the history of it all, and it was, and I remembered some of this. Like I was there, and it was one of the reasons why I left, because you were the one who were like, "Hey, isn't this funny, cool memes?" And then like the funny, cool memes.
Because the meme started and then on 4chan,
and then I was like, "Why is this so racist? This is really awful. This is really gross. Why is this so sexist?" And I was like, "Okay, that was what 2006 or 7, and just like." But
also you should check out that if we're going to do the QAnon Anonymous, my other recommendation would be the HBO documentary that Q Into the Storm is really good, talking about that cult, because that cult's coming up, man. It really is. But once again, we're not a political podcast. Avoid just 4chan nowadays is it's just stupid. It's all dumb. It's all just lonely people who are angry that they're lonely.
Yeah. So,
and we're gonna get DDoS now.
Well,
you're gonna have like the one fucking 4chan listener who's like, "Yo, fuck these two Gen X boomers." Bam, DDoS. It's gonna be videos of me whacking off on the internet. Basically. And I'll be like, "Yeah," from my fucking iPad cam. Be like, "Yeah, what's new?"
What's new? So I guess in conclusion, or nearing the conclusion, and getting mired out of this bullshit that we just got into talking about, there's definitely a drinking problem. And if you're listening to this, you've either had one, you have one, you think you might have one, or you're simply just interested in understanding people who do.
Or you know me on Instagram, and
or you know me,
like,
yes. Or
I listened to one of your podcasts. I got a message from a friend of mine, from a guy I knew in Seattle. It was like, "Listen, your podcast was really interesting." I'm like, "Cool, thanks," but I don't think he's not. I think he was just then he got partway in the podcast and went, "Oh, all right." Okay. These guys aren't talking about fucking how fun it is to drink.
No. But I think it's a good article, and I really enjoyed it. I know that you made some very salient points, Jerry.
Thanks.
About it blaming a certain group of people, a certain generation, which is their want to do. And it does sort of play both sides of the fence. But here are the good things, and here are the bad things. Now make up your mind.
Which is fine. It works as an article.
But I think my mind is made up and about whether or not alcohol is good or bad. And again, even though it is that inert substance, it's like I can't deal with it. I can't cope with it. I can't function with it.
Yeah, no thanks. I've had enough. No thanks. I've had enough. It's just not for me, man. It's not for me. Don't work for me. I'm gonna stick with nicotine and caffeine.
Those are my drug, my DOC.
My idea. You don't even do nicotine anymore. I was so proud of you, because I beep 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 beep. I'm over here vaping away like I'm fucking Herbie Hancock playing the keyboard. That made no sense. That was like a Sherry Frost
picture in your mind that you saw
of him with the tube in his mouth playing the fucking
yes,
like, doing the vocoder. That's what I was trying to get at. But it's just me, the vape, just did it. Me and my wife are just vaping. We just vape so much, but I don't know.
I mean,
I'm not ready to. We'll do the anti-vaping podcast later. I'll do my vape recovery podcast. Probably. Never. I could still run 5 miles. It's too hot, man. I had to run 4 the other day because I'm out there and it's like in the mid 80s, and I'm not used to that because I'm from Oregon. You know what I'm saying? So me in the 80s, I'm like, I'm gonna have a fucking stroke on the side of the road. Like, rad. Nah.
So just take your debit card with you if you need to stop at like a 7-Eleven or something and get some water.
Ain't no 7-Elevens out here, dude. Fucking the closest 7-Eleven, it's Arizona. Everything's spread out so far. The closest 7-Eleven's 10 miles away. You want to go to Fry's? You better fucking pack a bag.
Well, maybe you could
fries.
Fries. I don't know
There's
what fries
fries here.
is. I don't
Oh,
know
they don't
what that
have
is.
fries. They have them in
No.
California, but not
Not
in
here.
Northern California.
No.
It's a grocery store.
Okay.
It's like a Kroger kind of.
But you won't carry a bottle of water with you or a Camelback.
It's too heavy. I hate carrying shit. My hands
Yeah.
and Camelback's heavy. I'm looking into buying a belt. There's this specific belt. It's called a flip belt. Have you seen these?
I don't know.
You hear these? I always feel like Jay Leno when I do that.
You hear
this,
these?
people? You hear these? It's called a flip belt, and it's this neoprene belt that you put on that has pockets in it that fits everything snug against your body, and it comes with this curved kind of flat flask that you can fill with water. And so you put everything in the belt, and then you zip all the pockets closed, and you flip it inside out. So it holds everything, uses your body and the neoprene, the tension from the neoprene, it holds everything in place. So you can reach back and grab the water and pull it out from inside the belt, drink it, put it back. And when I run, I don't like to hold anything.
Right.
Handle it. And so all my running shorts have zippers on them. So I can keep my iPhones from flying away. You know, and so it's kind of a pain in the ass to find running shorts that have the perfect zipper pockets on them. I always have to sew the pocket into the short so the phone doesn't whip around and hit me the balls or whatever. And so now I'm like, I'm gonna flip belt this shit.
I love how you are researching to carrying a flask for a whole different reason now.
For a whole different reason now, yeah.
Not the one that you get engraved for your wedding.
I've just had it. And my sister gave me one of these cloths she uses too, because she roller skates and she'll roller skate on the running track, and she'll do like 20 miles in a day on skates, like for fun. Like that's her average, is about 15 miles in a day. And she buys these fabrics that are they're like water wicking. They like keep the water in it, so you fill it with cold water, wrap it around your neck like a scarf, and it stays wet the entire time.
That's awesome.
It cools down your core. So I'll have to learn these little things, especially with this new place we're at. We're like literally in the middle of nowhere. Like,
could you suck on the towel and like drink it, or is that
probably? But it wouldn't taste good, right? Because it'd be sweaty. That's a new thing I've learned too. Like in Oregon, I'd sweat a little bit, but here, man, even lifting weights, I'm like drenched. So when I shower, it's like all salty water. I'm not used to the sweating this much.
I love it. I don't mind. At mid 80s is no problem. I love going out there. And
I'm almost there. I have to acclimate. It takes a minute. Yeah. But I'm also sensitive to temperature. And the Alanis Morisette song I was talking about earlier is called Reasons I Drink. Okay. It's a pretty good song. You should check out the video on YouTube. It's called Reasons I Drink. It's very interesting. If we're going to be doing our Alanis Morissette Dark Tower deep dive.
Reasons I Drink.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll check it out. I'm down.
I mean, I was trying to remember her recovery song, and this is a song about her recovery. She's not, I don't know if she's sober. I don't know if she's California sober. I don't know.
Maybe she's, I don't know, Kansas sober, Canadian sober. I don't know.
Make fun of the poor California sober girl. I'm like, ooh, you're doing that denial shit in front of everybody.
It's
poor girl.
Yeah, it sucks, man.
I ain't even mad at you. I just feel bad.
I mean, I guess too. Language is important, and how it
is very important nowadays.
It's describe yourself and culture. How you like you and I would say I'm an alcoholic, and now that's not even what it's called. It's called alcohol use disorder. Right. Or I'm not homeless, I'm experiencing homelessness.
Yeah, or and displaced.
So to sort of not put the judgment on the person, like I'm an alcoholic. Well, you're a human.
I'm not a recovering alcoholic. I'm in long-term recovery.
Recovery. So I think that's fine, but yes, it does seem to feel like the denial is out there for everybody to see. And like, but again, fuck it, man. Live your life how you want to live it. And if it's working for you, then so be it.
Right. I still think it's funny though. It's not funny. I think funny peculiar, not funny like haha, you're in pain. Like it's kind of funny, like that's funny.
That's peculiar.
That's peculiar is a better word for it.
But I don't think that I could. I can't budge on my sobriety.
Well, we know what we are, and we know what we're capable of. You know what I mean? I'm not saying she or people who out there who have occasional drink, whatever. They know what they're capable of too, and what works for them. Yeah. And also, most people I know who occasionally drink, who had problems with it in the past, are not Demi Lovato.
Right.
They're not in the media giving other people a word for it. You got to. I always feel like if you're out there, you should be slightly, especially if you're trying to be the face of recovery, or at least some type of abstinence from
There's a little bit more
substances.
responsibility.
It's a little more, I would think. I mean, a lot
Yeah.
of people would not like to have that, but it is what it is. You know?
I mean, I try to be straight up with people here about it, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, but especially I am not Demi Lovato. I don't have her reach, but
No,
you know,
I can't hit any of her notes or them. I don't know. I think they're non-binary now. I don't know.
Okay. Well,
I don't know, John. I don't know. I'm sorry if I offended. I don't even want to do that fucking Gen X shit. I'm sorry if I offended one, ironically, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
Well, I think the best thing we can do is do our best.
Yeah. Tread lightly. The best thing we do is do our best. And with that, I think we should.
Yes. Those are my wise words for today.
Yeah.
All right. I will talk to you next week.
All right, John. Cool. Right. Next week will be Z.
It'll be Z. It'll be the last one, and then we'll take a break.
Do you Z what I Z? You know what I mean?
You?
All right, man.
Later.
Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.